Okay, there we are. Let me start. Nice to see you all here. A very large audience, which was not really expecting. This wouldn't have been... No, this wouldn't have been possible in Italy. I was discussing this with Emma right away. So very good that you're all here. Well, Torben started by sparking enthusiasm on European Bauhaus, and it's very important, in my opinion, that there is this enthusiasm and this capacity to look at the future in a positive perspective. So the new European Bauhaus will work if we'll have this movement from the ground. At the same time, I don't want to lower down this enthusiasm, but I also need to say that those values that were introduced already and that are the values that the new European Bauhaus tries to bring forth are very difficult to honestly to be pursued, to be considered when doing things, because things are typically done in sort of a business as usual fashion. So this change from a linear to a circular model is not going to be that easy as one could imagine. So if you put yourself in a rational perspective, many things look rational. They look as the right direction that one would like to take. But at the same time, there on the ground, you find a lot of difficulties. We had some hints from the previous conversation of these difficulties. But difficulties are not only there on the ground for the new European Bauhaus, as it has been introduced as one of the key initiatives of the Commission. Actually, the president of the Commission was strongly behind the establishment of the new European Bauhaus, but almost all the member states were contrary to this program, including my own country, and if I don't remember wrong, also yours, if you're mainly from Denmark. And this is because the program is not that much traditional, so you would need non-traditional indicators to measure results, and because member states would probably prefer putting money on other endeavors other than this. So it has been a quite controversial program from the very beginning. Now it has been turned into what will be called the NEP facility, simply because they didn't want to have another mission, which was the original intention, which means there is, and it was there from the very beginning, from when we started thinking of this project, there is strong need to prove that what happens under the NEB is effective, that it delivers results, and that it brings us to this desired transformation, so that it really supports the Green Deal. And that's the reason why we have worked so strongly from the beginning of the project in establishing a system for monitoring the results at the project level, and a system that can possibly bring learnings that we gather on the ground at the policy level, informing the future development of the new European Bauhaus. So the activity on the ground is fundamental, but it's also fundamental to have a system in place where to collectively gather learnings and to bring these learnings from this ground level to upper levels of governance. We did this by, from the very beginning, relying on the document that the JRC of the Commission produced, which is the European new European Bauhaus Compass. It's a guiding document that points to values and principles and asks projects and all those that work under the NEB to be aware of these values and these principles and to act based on those system of values and principles. You will recognize the 3 keywords of the new European Bauhaus, under which we developed our own principles, and some principles that we consider while reworking them in, let's say, a more operational perspective to make them effective in the kind of experimentation that we performed within the desired sites. So the sites did this demonstration based on our own principles and at the same time all the new European Bauhaus values and principles. We actually tried to include them in. Emma, would you like to introduce the sites?
I think that they were kind of already introduced by Torben at the beginning, but just for you to know, these are 8 sites, 3 from Denmark, other 5 from Europe, and what it's important to remember is basically they are all different in size, in a way that they were approaching their transformations, in a sense that all the sites were already under transformation at the very beginning of the project, but at the same time at different levels of maturity of this transformation. And also that the ownership of the sites was different, and is still different. So we have NGOs, we have municipalities working on the project. So we needed to find ways to observe this impact that we really need for the reason that Alessandra was showing, in a way that could really be inclusive of all these differences. And these sites are working on projects addressing biodiversities, addressing green facilities, social, civic design, social housing, and so on.
So what we did was to establish an assessment framework that is a system where we could possibly capture information on the ground from what happens at the sites level, make the sites, and of course all the partners belonging to this project work together to establish tighter relationship and exchange and peer-to-peer learning mechanisms. We tried to bring this to a monitoring and assessment level, where we try to figure out challenges and potential results based on these challenges that could be somehow measured in a qualitative way. And this brings learnings, and learnings that can flow from the bottom up, so inform in the end, which is one of the objectives of this project, as it's a lighthouse project, the future development of the NEB as a program, and also see if the 3 values work and if we are definitely in the end able to produce transformation or to sustain positive transformation. This was the objective of the framework. We experimented a non-linear way of doing this. You know, traditionally, what you do is you simply look at the outcomes that you have better, at some of the outputs that you can produce with the project, and connect these two outcomes, and then you see if these outcomes are in the short, mid, long term producing actual impacts. This is a very linear way of doing things. It of course doesn't work when problems are systemic, when you want the model to become circular. So we introduced other ways of gathering knowledge, which is not that linear. and actually experimented also a new way of measuring results, because this is one of the things that you need to do when the program is so different and original than the traditional ones. What came out of this is the fact that we can work on different learning modes. So we do things and we learn by doing these things. We can set up learning mechanisms that are based on the interaction that you have within the single sites, among them, and from the consortium to the outside world in general. And we can reflect on what we do in order to gather learnings, which is what we did actually in this project. We did this by developing a system of tools. Emma will be introducing these systems of tools briefly. What I would like to mention is that we also discovered that we have to sort of go beyond the traditional scaling mechanism, because it's not really true that the only way to make things happen is to start small and then grow and diffuse what started small. There is sort of an intermediate layer between what you do on the ground and the policy, where you can work on enabling conditions. So what we can change through these innovative projects is this system or this ecosystem of enabling conditions, which are partly bound to the kind of challenges that you try to tackle. So they are transversal when considering the kind of challenge, and partly are context specific. So there is something in each context that makes the same challenge different if you move from one context to another. So it's very important that you are able to understand this intermediate layer and to work on these enabling conditions.
Yeah.
Emma.
Yes, thank you, Alessandro. And indeed, Alessandro was introducing these tools that we used, and these were basically a logbook that could help the sites report also on their activities, the inputs they put, the resources, and also to reflect upon each of the activities or group of the activities that they were basically doing. There were moments in time in which we came together and we reflected, but also made them think about their challenges, how the process were doing, and so on. And these were the outcome mapping and monitoring workshops. And there was a program, a peer-to-peer program of the project. So we set up this program under three basically dimensions that characterize the assess level that Alessandro was introducing before. And these points are basically focusing on how to set up a network, which I think the focus connects very much to what has been discussed in the previous panel, but also on empowering actors and communities and how to build the evidence and the legacy of the project forward. And these were basically reworked under different questions that could help the reflections, and on which we also organized, or we could see the outcomes of the projects. So under, let's say, the point of setting up the network, we noticed how the engagement of different initiatives at the local sites played an important role in shaping the identity and this sense of belonging that was introduced at the beginning. So this being able to identify the right stakeholders and to make them participate is crucial. And in this perspective, not only Wildemann, but also other sites under Desire created these thematic groups that made the different participants identify themselves into the challenges they were working on, and also the use of workshops, activities, was important to gather together participants from different fields. So always this participation from a transdisciplinary perspective is one of the strengths that has been characterizing the works that the different sites have been doing. And in terms of how to drift this power from usual stakeholders to others, let's say that the developing different skills that was happening under the condition of the project throughout local participation, but also thanks to these peer-to-peer meetings and time for reflection was really important to foster the growing of leaderships, not only from the core team that was starting participating to the project, but also to other participants. So indeed, slowly, the participants were taking a more prominent role, and this happened not only in terms of feeling part of a group, but also in a more official or more institutionalized way like some of them were given even the right to decide upon funding on their activities and on the direction of the different activities. So there was these shifts. Last but not least on this slide, let's say that different activities really were focusing on circular economy principles and coexistence, so really on how to drift away and move beyond a human-centered perspective and engage with different species. This competence building for different species and for a broader community was also crucial in order to bring forward evidence and to enable the change and the legacy that is coming forward. So that through this learning, we could say that the project, and especially the sites, remain responsive towards these changes that could come in a non-linear way. So this was the way of desire to go forward. Something that probably seems quite obvious, but always important, is that the fact that institutional collaboration is important to ensure that the long-term impact of this project and activities is actually a success. Other 2 points that were raised by the different sites and that came out of this experimentation is that artistic intervention could play a very significant role in developing the evidence to enable and to give this legacy of the project. And also the principle of circularity helps in terms of in preparing these conditions and the projects to be adaptive to change.
Thanks.